Good morning YouTube, it's Lynn from Perth in WA. Now this is my cymbidium repotting video, and I just hope you're going to be able to hear me because the traffic is a little bit heavier today than usual. Fortunately there's far less air traffic, so hopefully we won't get any noisy planes going over. So this is one of my peloric cymbidiums. This is Hotline Plum Loco, and I'm really going to just up pot it, and it's got some weed in it, so that has to come out. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit, and I'm going to use actually quite a large pot, and because it's more than one size up, but it's the only pot I've got that's bigger than this one. And it's called an ANOVA pot, A-N-O-V-A, which means, and I don't know if you can see that, you can see the hole in the bottom. Well, that's got a raised lip, and that allows a little bit of water to sit in a well below. So if the roots want to, they can actually go down and drink from it. But I am going to really crock this pot with some huge pieces of polystyrene. That's for a couple of reasons. It aids in drainage. It also enables me to use a lot less media, so that down towards the bottom of my pot there's not so much media to actually get mucky and go off to deteriorate. And the mix I'm going to use, just getting it out of my mix bucket now, and I can't push my mix bucket back under the bench because the lid's stuck. Get in there, you, get in there. Okay, so this is perlite, gravel, some medium-sized bark, a little bit of perlite balls, that would be hard for you to see, and there's probably some, I don't know if there is or not, I was going to say some pumice in there. There may be a little bit of pumice in there as well, and the odd leca ball. So I'm going to just sort of prop the pot with that. Okay, that'll do for now. And the other thing I'm going to do before I start, I'm going to sterilise my cutting tools just in case I need to cut anything. So I've got a blue flame here, and I'm sterilising my cutting tool. I hope you can see that. Be careful not to burn yourself when I'm looking at the screen and doing this kind of stuff. So now, if there's any bugs on there, they will definitely be gone. Okay, so that's that taken care of. I have to be careful now I don't put that on plastic because it will burn through because they'll be hot. So I'm going to take my orchid out of its pot, and what I'll do is I'll just give it a press so that it comes out a bit easier. Now I don't want to take all the media off. I'd like to leave a little bit around the roots because this probably hasn't broken down, although it is quite small. Now yesterday or the day before, when I brought this home from the nursery, I soaked it in Cymbidium. Now this is made by Nutrog, and it's an Australian product for Australian orchids or Australian plants. And I soaked it in there for about 10 or 15 minutes just to revitalise it. And once I've potted this plant up, I'm then going to put some Nutrog Cymbidium pellets just around the edge, because they will fortify the media. There's a little bit of nutrient in there. There's lots of sort of kind of kelp, seaweed type material in there, and it's a plant tonic, so it will help the roots transition to its new media and to keep them strong and healthy, and hopefully grow me lots of new roots. So at the moment I'm just looking for weed roots to get them out, and I'm looking for any dead roots. So I'll just feel all the velamin, anything that's soft will go. There's a mushy root. But in general, and I'm going to leave the strings on if I can, because they help stabilise the plant in the mix. And mostly they look absolutely great. They're wonderful, and I've got some new roots and new root tips here. The other thing I'm going to do, and I hope you can see this, I'm trying to look at in the viewfinder. Now I'm filming with an iPad. I'm not a photographer, guys. You know this, you know I'm not a photographer. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to pull off all the old sheaths around the pseudobulbs. Now this not only makes the plant look nice and tidy and clean, but it takes away a hiding place for scale and other nasties. And also then they can't rot on the plant. So I'm just getting rid of all those. There's some few tiny back bulbs which I'll leave on, they don't need to come off. But it shows me where the back of the plant is, so that when I do replant it I can put that a little bit closer to the edge of the pot where the old bulbs are. So all this old material comes off. Now when you're pulling these off, if you can't actually tug them off, split them. Tear them down the middle and then yank on either side, and they will come off quite easy. So I have to split that one down the middle because I can't get it off. I need to cut it. So there, just pull it apart and it will come off the pseudobulb really easily. So now that's looking much cleaner. There you go, can you see that? No old sheaths. The roots are nice and firm. Most of them. There's a bit of a manky one. So just give a little pull on them, and if they are dead, the velamin, which is the outer covering of the root is inside the velamin, and it will just come off very easily. It just slides off, and you don't want that stuff rotting in your media. I don't anyway. But I'm leaving the actual root, which is inside the velamin, on there. And again, just making sure that I've got rid of all the weed roots. I don't want weeds coming up and growing in my plant again. It looks very good. So I'm going to just throw a little bit of this media back in the pot, because it's got its bugs, it's got its own bugs in there, it's got its own, I can't remember the word, the stuff it likes to have around it when it's growing. So I'm going to put that back, and I'm just going to open my roots up a little bit. There's another soft root. That. I'm just going to open them up a little bit. Put a handful of, actually I should put a bit of polystyrene right in the middle. Now, this could be a bit dangerous. I said that because I plugged the otherwise sent it tumbling to the ground and probably wouldn't have had an instrument to record. So I'm just going to put a couple of those in. This is going to give it lots of aeration, because as you know, your roots need oxygen. So I'm just going to pop that in there. So my roots now are spread more to the outside of the pot, and that's sitting in there quite nicely with the top of the bulbs at the top of the pot. Although I do want to get them down just a little bit more, so that I can leave just a tiny gap between the top of the plant and the pot, so that when I water I don't wash out all my media. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit more of that around. Mycorrhiza was the word I was looking for. It will have its own mycorrhiza in there. And I'm going to put a few of the Seamungus pellets just around the edge. This will condition my mix. do good things for it. And then in about 3 or 4 weeks, I will put some Strike Back for Orchid pellets on there, which is the feed that I use. Now, I use both the pellets and the liquid because the liquid will give it an instant boost. But these little pellets, they are slow release, and they will just gradually melt down in the pot over about 2 or 3 months and feed the orchid for me, so that if I get particularly lazy and I don't water my orchid for a while, if I forget, or if I forget to feed, there's the pellets you can see in my hand if I can get it into the viewfinder. Yeah, if I get particularly lazy and forget to feed, they're not going to starve, because cymbidiums are food-loving plants. Look, you don't have to feed them every time you water like I do, or I try to do, but they do like a lot of food when they're growing. They're very hungry, very thirsty plants. So in growth, they need lots of nutrition to get the best from them and to get nice big flower racemes. So the aim of repotting, feeding and looking after them well is to make the pseudobulbs plump up. Now this is quite a small plant. It's a bit of a miniature plant for a cymbidium. And these pseudobulbs, they're reasonably big, but these new ones here, I want to get them into stonking growth. I want them to get nice and fat, because the fatter the bulbs on your cymbidiums, the better your racemes are going to be in your flowers. So that's my aim, and you can see my mix is reasonably fine, but it's very well draining with all these bits and pieces, all the stones and the perlite. It's nice, free draining mix. And there you go, that's my cymbidium repotted. Just going to tamp it down. Just push it down at the edge of the pot. Now, I'm not going to water it today because I watered it yesterday. It had the Seamungus liquid, which it was soaking in for a little while. So I know that the roots are quite wet, and you could see that when I was repotting it. So I'll leave this for a day or two. In actual fact, in the middle of the winter, I don't know, what's the temperature today? I can't see my little clock. Humidity feels about 60%. I normally say 60 degrees, don't I? I keep making mistakes when I say that. But 60% I'd reckon the humidity is. And I'd say it's 20, if not 22 degrees. And it's overcast. We're going to get some rain. But it's warm and humid. So it's mimicking the conditions that they actually probably grow in. And it would like these conditions at the moment. Okay. So there we go. We'll just make sure that all my roots are covered. Finished. It looks nice in its new home, and I hope it's going to be happy and grow really well for me. Now, I will write the date on my label if I can find it, that I've repotted it. I just put the month, which is 7, and the year 20. So this was last repotted 2 years ago. So this will give it a nice new boost. In goes my labels, and then I will find a good spot with some good breeze to hang this so it can swing in the breeze and get lots of light. This time of the year, during the winter, they can handle full sunlight all day long. During the summer, we are told to not expose our orchids to direct sunlight if it's about over 33, 34 degrees. So I try not to do that. They need to be under shade. They can be out in direct light early in the morning or late in the afternoon if the sun is a bit weaker. But my sun is hot all the time. Some decades ago, I don't know if you can remember, there was a huge hole in the ozone layer over Australia, and everyone was burning. We had an upsurge of skin cancers and goodness knows what else. And I keep trying to find out what that ozone layer is like now, if that hole is much smaller or if it's closed up, and I cannot find information on it. But I'll keep looking. So there's my orchid, happy in her new home. Hopefully she'll bloom for me next year. And this is a peloric. Just one thing else I'd like to show you. This is a bit of a trick. If your leaves tend to sort of dangle, you can straighten them if they're dangly. Just straighten them with your label and just get them looking nice. And if you've got pieces on the end of your leaves, you can just, I'm out of the screenshot here. I'm going to lower this so that you can just see what I do here. I've got a manky leaf, only really one, but I'm going to show you how, instead of cutting it and maybe introducing disease into my plant, just watch what I do with my label. So I'm going to just cut it with my label, just fold it over and very quickly slice. Sorry, I've got gloves on, it's not working very well, but there you go. So you can use your label to do that. You can also use your label to straighten them. If they've got bends in them, sometimes they will just straighten up and stand up a little bit better for you. Take the creases out of them. There's a crease in that one, I'll see if I can get rid of it. No, it's been in there too long. Okay, so there's my orchid. Hope you enjoyed that and I hope you learnt something. Bye guys.